and share about some things that the Lord is doing in them and their family. And before they come, I want to preface what they share, speaking as an elder on behalf of our elder team. And for those of you who are new to Antioch Waltham, Sean is the lead pastor here at Antioch Waltham, and it's he and Laura who 22 years ago led a team to Boston to plant a church in Brighton, out of which has been birthed Antioch Waltham, Antioch Beverly, and a number of teams and individuals that have gone overseas. And so the preface that I want to share right now is that in processing with Sean and Laura over the last few months, the elders, along with the Antioch Waltham Board of Directors, have recommended that Sean take a year-long sabbatical starting this coming June, just in a month or so. And there's two prominent factors that play into this. One flows out of, and Sean has mentioned some of this in health issues that Sean's been dealing with, and the health issues have actually served to highlight to him and Laura, as well as to us on the elder team, the level of impact that 30 years of ministry has had on Sean in a holistic way, the weight of this ministry in his physical body, his soul, and his mind and emotions. And the second factor is that the Lord in this process has been speaking very directly, which has been a beautiful thing, the way he has been speaking, especially to Sean in this process. And Sean and Laura are going to unpack that more with you. So just to reiterate from an elder standpoint, that it's with a unanimous voice that we recommend this year-long combination of, it's really a combined medical leave and sabbatical. And I also want to say that there is nothing veiled or ominous behind what's the scene and what's driving this recommendation. Everybody can take a deep breath. Not only are sabbaticals healthy and significant and a normal part in the rhythms of in the life of a ministry leader, but it's actually significant for the church itself and what this is going to do in bringing life to our body, causing new leadership to rise up, as well as what happens with Sean and Laura. And so I can, just to close, I can say with great confidence that for Sean and Laura to take a year to focus on renewal and healing and that be the result, or the result of that then be that for the next 20 to 30 years, that Sean and Laura live into the fullness, they finish well, live into the fullness of who the Lord has created them to be, and Sean and his leadership, that it will be an investment that has no price tag on it. A lot of you were a part of this birthday bash a few years ago that for Sean's 50th birthday, and then more recently we celebrated Laura's 30th birthday. And just think about that, 20 to 30 more years of them going strong and finishing well. That's really the vision behind this sabbatical. So I'll turn it over to Sean and Laura. They're going to share a little bit with you, and then there'll be some time to process as a congregation. And one more thing. I just want to say, as a brother, as a friend to Sean, and as a colleague, that I am just so thankful to serve under the leadership of a man who's integrous. He is a man of vision. He is a humble man, and he is someone who loves. And I know that every person that's a part of this community has experienced those things, and those things remain true. So love you, Sean and Laura.
Hey, everybody. Brendan, thank you so much. And I am so honored that you think that my wife is 30. But I just want everybody to know that as beautiful as she looks and as young as she looks, she is not that much younger than me. She's just a year and a half. So we did celebrate her 50th this year. So I wanted to just kind of follow up from what Brendan just shared with you as you were processing that information and taking it in. I know for some of you that will take a little bit more time than just a few minutes that we're able to talk with you, and we understand that. Wanted to let you know that at the end of our time of sharing, at the end of the service, there will be a time for question and answers. And if you even want to begin to ask questions, John Prickett is going to be the one that is facilitating a time. Just there'll be a few time for a few questions at the end. He'll facilitate that time. So if you have a question, chat with him in the chat box, send a private message to John Prickett. He'll collect those questions, and then he'll ask I or the elders, whichever direction those questions go, what we need to be asked. So you can be doing that even as we're speaking, as you come up with thoughts. I might answer some of your questions, so you might want to just pause and see if we, or Laura and I, answer your questions, but you can do that even now if you're thinking of something. As Brendan said, I just want to kind of give some texture and context for at least how we came into this season and into this conversation with our elders. But many of you know, for those of you who've been around for a few years, you've walked with Laura and I, and you know that we have actually both walked through some health issues. We've been in ministry for 30 years. And so 30 years of ministry, 22 years of ministry here in Boston. We moved here 22 years ago. We raised our family here. We have 5 kids. So to say the least, life has been full. And as a church planner, on top of that, we planted these churches. And so we have 3 churches locally. We have Works overseas. We have another church in Phoenix that was sent out of our church. There's been a lot going on. And I also am a part of the oversight for our whole movement internationally. And so as my mom has joked, my life has never been slow. I've always been living full speed, and I'm not bragging about that. Some of that's just by nature of who I am, but also some of that kind of probably plays into where we are today. So it's been full, and part of that journey for the last 10 or 12 years has been a physical trial for Laura and I, physically. But specifically, this season of renewal has been predicated by what's been going on in me. And there's been a combination of a couple of things. One, as I said, some physical issues that have been following me, plaguing me over the last few years. Most of it centering around stomach issues, of which, if you were around last summer, you heard me share that I got an endoscopy and was told that I have a reflex disease called GERD, and also something called Barrett's esophagus, which is kind of the changing of the cell structure and the lining of the esophagus, and it can be precancerous. But what I can say is, on top of that health issue has not gotten better over the last year, and actually it's remained the same and or gotten worse at times, and that's weighed on me emotionally. Just not being able to get free from that, and it especially affects my sleep. As I would share with people, I kind of have begun to see life through the lens of my physical sickness, and you just don't want to be in that place. And then also, life has just been emotionally stressful for a pastor and church planner and movement overseer. And I don't know. When Laura and I talk, when we pray, we've prayed for healing. We've prayed for God to take these sicknesses from us, and He hasn't chosen to do that at this time in the way that I'd want Him to. And I don't know if the sickness or the health issues lead to the emotional stress, or the emotional stress of the ministry leads to the physical, or if those kind of go in circles or influence each other, which I think probably is the case. But all that to say, when I walked into this new year, I just wasn't in a good emotional place. Now, by God's grace, throughout this whole season of ministry, including this year, Jesus has been present. I have felt the energy and the life to get up and minister each day, and actually in a strange way, even in the midst of the trial, I found joy, as James 1 says. There's been tremendous joy in serving you and loving you and being in ministry. I find it a great privilege and an honor, and always will. But found myself just saying, I've got to have a breakthrough. And I can't go on living this way in ministry. Even as joy-filled and as fulfilling as it is, I can't go on living in this way. It's not good. And even talking to some doctor friends of mine, them encouraging me, hey, you don't want to go on living this way, because only bad things happen the more you press into this kind of season of health issues and emotional issues. So I took that as a serious warning and began to bring in some of the elders into this conversation with me and just say, hey, would you pray and discern with us what needs to happen? Along that same time, I was doing some traveling with Antioch. I was in some meetings that were out of town, and one of those meetings was in Texas, and had an opportunity to schedule a little extra time to visit my daughter Annie, who lives in Waco, and always like to try to see her when I'm in town in Texas. And then also was going to set up some meetings with some college students that were planning on coming up and serving us here this summer, which is not going to happen exactly the same way because of COVID. But got to Waco, my plans changed. Some of those meetings fell through, and was able to have a little bit more space that was, I think, ordained by God, and got some time with some people there, including one person who has spoken prophetically into my life in a powerful way. And in that time with her and her husband, which actually are relatives, it's Laura's brother and wife. And so in that time of conversation, she began to speak just prophetically into my life about things that were going on. And immediately when she began to speak, I felt the presence of the Lord. And the key thing that she shared a lot of things. It was about a 30 or 40 minute conversation, but the thing that she started out with was a picture. And she said, Sean, I see God, I really believe that God is giving you a new operating system. He's been doing that over the last few months, but in order for it to have its full effect and for that new system to go into effect, he needs to shut you down. And that got my attention. And I'm already, if you know me, I'm emotional. I'm already crying because I'm experiencing the presence of the Lord. And she said, and I said, well, what does that mean? And she said, well, I feel like it's, you need to take a season off. And then as a leader and pastor, my mind just starts racing. Okay, how is that going to work? I don't understand how that's, Lord. I was open. I felt God speaking, but I was like, God, I have no interpretation for what this really means. And I said, well, what do you mean take it? She said a long season off. And I said, well, what do you mean a long season? And she kind of paused because she kind of knew, she's been in ministry, around ministry. So she knows, weeks to 6 months is kind of the length of a time off. And she said, well, I think it might be a year. She later came back to me and shared, I don't know exactly what the length of time is. I just know that it's longer than shorter. She shared other things about God wanting to bless me, ministering to me as God ministered to Jesus by his spirit and with the angels. And there was just this time of refreshing. It was a time of opportunity and blessing if I chose it. Anyway, I took those words, I prayed about them, and I came back to Boston. I shared them with Laura, and it was arresting for Laura. It wasn't like she was jumping up and down with joy. She was saying, oh God, what are you doing? It was sobering. And I'll let her share a little bit more about that. But after we prayed about it a little bit, we felt like it was at least worth mentioning to our elders. And so we brought our elders into it and shared the whole story. They already knew what was going on with me physically and emotionally. And then they prayed about it. They took some time apart from me and brought our Mark Buckner, who oversees the movement with me, brought him into the conversation and met without us. And then when we came back from our vacation to Atlanta about a month and a half ago, right at the beginning of COVID, we got back together as elders. And as Brendan already shared with you, they unanimously said, we think that this is the Lord. And I'm going to get emotional. Feel like this is the Lord. And not only do we feel like it's the Lord, we feel like the timing is right and that you should take a year. And one of the elders said, and we're not going to let you say no. And I think when he said that, just something broke on me. I felt a relief, a rest, not because I thought, I've shared, I feel like God snuck up on me. I wasn't expecting the word at first. In the first place, I wasn't expecting the prophetic word, but I was asking God, there's got to be something that you're doing here with me. And so when he said that and the elders unanimously gave their blessing, I felt a relief emotionally. Didn't still, just lots of questions still, but just felt a relief. We have an outside advisory board that is also part of covering our church and our movement here in Boston. Their primary role is to counsel, consult, and also be a point of encouragement and or discipline or rebuke for me if needed. And so we brought that team in to the conversation a week or so later. And they as well, but 5 of them said, we feel like it's the Lord as well. Many of them have walked with us for our whole ministry, and affirmed what the elders were saying, and then added the piece we feel like it needs to be sooner than later. We were thinking maybe mid to late summer, but they felt like that in order for us to get the rest and refreshment we would need on top of heading into a school year with our kids and just the family structure in the fall, that sooner in the summer would be better. And that it also would be better for us to get back into ministry, that our re-entry would be better at the beginning of the summer instead of towards the end of the summer and rushing into the fall. So that's the kind of the June to May timeframe that Brendan mentioned. So we're taking a 1 year, what we're calling a year of renewal, starting in June. And I'll give you a few details, and there will be an email that's sent out with more of the details, or the details I'm sharing with you. And there's also a video that we've made if you want to go back and watch it. But we are taking a year off so that we can find a year of renewal, so that we can have healing in our body, our bodies, both physically and emotionally, that we can be renewed in our body, soul, and spirit, and that we're believing in the course of that time, as God heals and restores, that there will also be a preparation for the season to come. One of our advisors said, I see this as a halftime in a sporting event, or it's a tune-up, it's a midlife tune-up, to kind of prepare us for the next 20 or 30 years of ministry. And so in that sense, we're expectant of what God might be doing. We really do believe that this is an invitation from the Lord to us, and we believe it more and more. We believed it more and more as it was confirmed to us by those who kind of cover us and encourage us in ministry, our elders and our advisory board. And in that, we believe that if God is initiating, then it's not only going to be good for us, but it's going to be good for the church as well. It's going to be good for Antioch, New England. It's going to be good for Antioch, Waltham. And so that brings us a lot of encouragement. If God is leading, it's always good.
Yep.
With that, I want to say we have confidence in the leadership that we're handing off in this season for this year. Mark Buckner, who helps oversee the movement alongside of me, will be taking the point for that. And he'll have a team of people around him that will be helping him make those bigger decisions for Antioch, New England, and Antioch, Greater Boston. And then we are inviting John Prickett and Brendan Hollingsworth to step up and be co-interim pastors for this year. And you know those guys, you know their families. I know it goes without saying, but I couldn't have more trust and more confidence that not only will they lead well in place of me, but will move the church forward. We have no doubt that the church is going to go forward in our absence. So we're confident. And the last thing I would say before Laura adds her words is, I just want to say, with God leading, that means Jesus is in the center. And it's really not, at the end of the day, it's not about the Richmonds. We are important. We have no doubt about that. We are loved. We know that's true. But we're not irreplaceable in any stretch of the imagination. You know, God reminded me of Elijah when he said, I'm the only one. And God said, you know what, you're awesome, Elijah, but I've got I think it's 6,000 or 7,000 people, can't remember the number, that have not bended their knee before an idol and they're worshiping. There's plenty of people within this church, in this movement, and that's you, that have gifts and talents and callings that can step up in this season and more than adequately fill in the gaps and holes that we're going to leave for this season. Nobody will replace us. We're unique in our gifting, just like you are, but it'll be a unique offering. It'll be a beautiful offering as we lead and people step up.
That's right. Well, I can imagine this is hitting you guys in all different ways. Probably some of you are saying, wow, like this is crazy. Some of you are saying, feeling sadness. Some of you may think, wow, this is exciting for the Richmonds. I just want to acknowledge that there's a range of emotions that everybody is going to feel. And in fact, we've run the gamut, feeling lots of different emotions. I particularly feel like I've been all over the place. And in fact, I was just thinking about when we first told our kids, we floated the idea to them, and Isaac, if you guys know him well, you'll understand this, but he says, I can maybe give it a couple months. So it took him a little while to sort of accept the idea of being gone for a whole year. It still blows my mind a little bit to think about being away from you guys for a year. I think I particularly felt sad. I think I will continue to feel sad because, you guys are my family. So actually, if I didn't feel sad, there'd be something wrong. So I want you to know, I feel sad. Sean feels sad. I think we're going to cry a lot. We'll probably cry right now. But it really just means that we are really, really love you guys and feel so connected. And, there's a whole list of things that I've already begun to verbalize about what I'm going to miss. I just want to encourage you to grieve, and that's okay. And grieving is good, and then we'll move past that grief. But I want to just reaffirm that you guys are our family, and you're so dear and deep in our hearts. And we are going to miss those interactions that we have with you every week, and the different ones that we see during the week. We love you so much. And also, I want to, on the other side of the grief, I want to just say that there is a beautiful thing about walking on a journey with God. And he takes us through hills and valleys. And it's exciting. And so I'm looking forward to it for us, even though in the midst of sadness. And I'm actually looking forward to it for you guys, because I know that God has a wonderful plan for all of us. So thanks for hanging in there with us, and we look forward to seeing what God does.
Just want to share just a couple more things before I hand it back over to Brendan to give some final remarks. But one detail that I didn't share, or that we didn't share, is what are we doing? Mm-hmm. And so we're planning on, we don't have any plans in place yet as far as the details, but we're planning on trying to find some place this summer. And again, COVID presents some challenges to this whole year coming up, but trying to find some place outside of Boston that's replenishing for us as a family to be away for, to be there for the summer. And then we're planning on moving to Waco for the school year. So and partly that was a decision that was best for the family with Samuel and Isaac and Laura and I and everybody's needs. And we have family there. Our daughter Annie is there, which is a big plus. And also Laura's brother and sister-in-law and their family, which are friends for our cousins for our kids, and they enjoy their fellowship and friendship. And then there's a few other friends that we have as a result of being a part of the movement for this long that our kids and our family know. And so it just seemed like the right place for us to land that would be a safe and encouraging place for us to kind of just continue in that process of healing and restoration and renewal. If those plans change, we'll let you know. But that's what we're planning for now. And just want you to continue to pray for us. I want to say this one last thing. I kind of said it, but I want to say it a little bit stronger. If you're on this Zoom call and you're in this church service, I want to encourage you that this is your time to step up and not step back. Yeah. Oftentimes when leaders step out, people kind of go, okay, well, this gives me a chance to kind of reevaluate what I want to do. And I just want to say, please don't make this church about the Richmonds. Make this church about your calling to be a part of Antioch Waltham. And Waltham, this church needs you more than ever. I believe that as we step out, everybody's going to kind of shift in some way. Everybody's going to have to step up to do something different. And you might not even know the gifts that are in you that God wants to call out during the season. This might be the opportunity for you to spread your wings and fly and be a part of something that is very different than what you've been a part of, or very much a part of who you are, but you just haven't been given the opportunity here. So step forward and be what God has called you to be. And then I just want to say this. I'm actually going to touch on this in the coming weeks, but 3 John 1:3-4 says this: "It gave me great joy when some believers came and testified about your faithfulness to the truth, telling how you continue to walk in it. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth. Now, I'm not old enough to be the father of all of you physically. I mean, I'm definitely not any other than my own kids. I'm not anybody else's biological father in this Zoom call. But I do see myself as a spiritual father, and I see Laura as a spiritual mother to many of you. And I just want to say, as a father and as a friend, it will bring me no greater joy than to hear and to know when I walk back into this church that you guys are thriving in Jesus because you decided to walk with him and obey him and live for him. So let's do this thing. Let's step up and let's believe that Jesus is in the center of what he's doing. Brendan.
Thanks, guys.
Sean and Laura, thank you so much. Sean and Laura acknowledged this, and I just want to go back there again. You know, this is landing on our congregation, our community, in lots of different ways, and there is room for each one of us to process on these different levels of how it affects us. You know, how is this affecting my relationship with the Richmonds and them being gone? How is this going to affect the church and our community as a whole? And then there's that whole other layer of, wow, Sean and Laura are prioritizing, you know, how the Lord is speaking and how the rhythms of life work for them so much that they're willing to actually change the entire structure of their life right now. Should I be doing that? All those layers of processing is healthy, and there's room for that. And so I just encourage you to go there with the Lord, with the people around you and your households as we're in this COVID-19 journey, and then personally, what is the Lord doing in me? There is room in this church for people to be real, for us to say, take risk and say, here, it's on the table, and what do you want me to do, or even to the point of really changing the structure of my life or the direction of my life. You know, this is COVID-19 is not a driving factor in this journey, but this is happening in the midst of COVID-19. And this morning I was just processing personally of what the Lord has been doing in me over the last 6 weeks or so, and then comparing that to what I know and hear and feel from the body around me as I'm relating with you. And one of the things that I see him doing is he is shepherding us. He is showing us how to live with both feet planted on the rock, wholeheartedly, all of us. He's going deep and saying, I want you planted in me and on me, because there's a lot of stuff that's shaking around us. And so I want us to continue to respond to what he is doing in the ways that he is calling us to, at the cost of everything else, saying, God, you are the most important part of my life. And I'm going to radically live with my whole life planted on you. And just as he promised to Abraham, as he was calling Abraham to follow him, I will be your shield and I will be your portion. That's his promise to us as his people. It's his promise to Sean and Laura as they embark on this season of renewal. I want to go back to a couple of quick practical things, talking about what this year of renewal is. Mentioned it's a combination of medical leave and sabbatical, a time for healing and renewal. I want to compare it to in the overseas ministry world, the furloughs happen on a regular basis. It's actually built in to the life cycle of people's work rhythms overseas. And if you were to, and this is a common misnomer that people who work overseas laugh about, people think, oh, you have a 3-month paid vacation. and those of us who've been overseas just laugh, knowing that it's not a furlough or a sabbatical in this case isn't just a 3-6 months kicking back on the beach. There's actually structure and intention, and part of the intention is, what do we need in the Lord to be whole and healthy and live out who He's called us to be? And it actually takes removing ourselves, and this is why people come back from overseas when they are on furlough. It takes removing ourselves from the intensity and the atmosphere, the environment of where we are fully engaged and fully giving, and so that's what this season is, and that's why Sean and Laura are processing about living in another geographic space, so that their hearts and minds and bodies can fully disengage and be. Just to reiterate what it's not. There's no terminal illness. Sean's not dying, but there are physical, and he's not in an emotional breakdown. It hasn't fallen off a cliff. That said, we feel like for us as the elders, or for Sean and Laura, as people, for us to ignore what's going on in Sean and say, oh no, just take a couple months and we need you back here, it would actually be negligent. It would be disobedient and negligent to push Sean in this season. So there is some weight that we are saying this is really significant and important. And based on what the Lord is speaking and the journey that Sean has been unpacking with him and Laura, this is needful for this year long.